Two guys in a mic. I'm Jim Ryan. He's Mark Rizzo, and today we are welcoming in a very special guest, our first musical guest for this episode. Mark, I know you're excited. You want to introduce
excited.
who we got?
I think it goes without saying. It's Johnny Rzeznik from the Goo Goo Dolls, and our very first musical guest.
Johnny.
Hi, how are you? How you guys doing?
So good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you too, man. Good to see you.
How's things going? What have you been doing over the last month? Getting ready to head out on the road?
I've been doing, like one-off gigs here and there, and I'm just, writing for the next record, which is gonna be out early next year, 25, and then we're doing a summer tour next year with Dashboard Confessional. It's a great band.
Yeah.
And so I'm just looking forward to doing that. I'm staying a little too busy, but trying to balance it out with being home with my daughter. And,
How's she doing? How old is she now?
She's great. She's 7. It's ridiculous.
Wow. Yeah,
I know. It's gone so fast, and she's awesome. She's my favorite person.
So writing the record, tell me about that. How many songs you got done?
I excuse me, like when I write a record, I have like 100 little shreds of ideas, just little bits and pieces, and then I just listen to them over and over and like, well, can I build something out of this? Can I make something out of this? And then sometimes they come more fully formed. But I was watching an interview with Ed Roland from Collective Soul, and he equated it like the melody is like the first thing you're attracted to, and then you find the heart of the song in the lyrics. And I was just like, wow, it was really well said. So I myself, I like to collect musical ideas because the music sort of sets the tone for me, and then I start mumbling and trying to get melodies out, and then sometimes a word will come out or a line or something, and then you kind of build off that. And then other times I'm like, I want to sit down and I want to write a song about this, and I'll do that. So.
But has that always been kind of your process? I mean, how old were you the first song you wrote?
First song I wrote, I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was like, it was just like like a 12-bar blues based kind of rock song, and it was terrible, but you do what you got to do to meet girls.
That was the game,
that's been
right?
my motto.
That's the
Yeah,
game?
that's been my motto for life. Yeah, that's been my motto.
I think that yeah, I mean, a lot of I think most I think that men, yeah, do a lot of incredible things and a lot of really stupid things for because of women.
See, I always thought athletics. For me, it was athletics. Like playing sports would get their attention.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was a horrible athlete, so I so I had to find some other way of getting their attention.
You know who else told me that once? Rob Thomas said the same thing.
Yeah.
Said it was all of he wanted to get the girls, so he learned how to write and sing music.
Yeah, I mean it works. Yeah.
Well, how did it work for you, Johnny? Did you take musical? I was asking, how did it start? Did you take instructions? Did you take classes? Did you pick the piano over the guitar, the piano?
No, my mom actually had me take accordion lessons when I was like 9, 10, something like that. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then I grew up in a really sort of a tough guy neighborhood, and I was not a tough guy. So you took a lot of grief for playing the accordion. So a few of the tough guys sort of destroyed my accordion, and that was the end of that. So my mom was nice enough on my when I graduated from 8th grade, she got me my own electric guitar. We always had an acoustic guitar around the house, but she got me my own electric guitar, which was a K guitar, Kay, and it was $35 SG copy. And that was the guitar that I had, and that's what I started playing on. I took a couple of guitar lessons, um, but I decided it was more fun to sort of just play around with it and try to figure it out on my own. Um, and I knew a couple of older guys in the neighborhood who played music, and I would ask them once in a while for a hey, can you show me how to do this or do that, and then I immediately just started writing my own stuff because I wasn't technically proficient enough to play cover songs, so it was I had to write my own.
How was your mom when you told her that you wanted to do this for a living?
My mom was a great musician. She was a
Okay.
great musician. Um, I never thought I'd be she died before I knew what I wanted to do for a living because I was going to a vocational training school to be a plumber.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, whatever. That was Buffalo in the 80s. And
Yeah.
I was doing that, and then when I graduated from high school, I got a job being a plumber's apprentice, and that included going outside uh, in Buffalo, New York in December and digging holes. So I
Mm.
was like, I think it's time to go to college. And I'm, in college, I met a ton of musicians, and, you know, everybody was creating this kind of underground music scene in Buffalo. And you didn't have to be good. You could just be original, or you wrote your original material. And there was this small subculture in Buffalo that was very connected to the to Buffalo State College. Lots of bands, lots of parties to play. We met a guy named Artie Quitchoff who had some friends who had money, and he was going to be our manager, and he did. He became our manager for a few years, but for like 4 years he managed us, and and he sort of masterminded the whole thing where it was like, we're gonna start renting a hall and making our own posters and gluing them to the telephone poles and doing the whole thing. And we really created a music scene. It was a lot of fun.
And that's where you met Robbie?
That's where I met Robbie. I was playing in a band with Robbie's cousin
Okay.
and Paul, who's now a state senator in Ohio. I was just like, it's so strange, because we're just playing like hardcore music, and like I was very when I was about 14, I was very inspired by the Ramones because I was like, wait a minute, I can play these songs.
Right.
So it was like, and I think that was what the big inspiration was to me, because it was like, wow, I can actually play these songs. And then I started hanging out with a lot of college kids. After my parents died, I moved out of my house and I moved into the college neighborhood, and I had to get roommates. So I lived with a bunch of kids that were older than me, and they were all in college and they were musicians and that. And then and it became this. I was dating a very hip girl, and and all these people, as well as my older sisters, were all schooling me on all this very hip, cool music that you'd never hear on the radio in Buffalo back then. I mean, uh, you probably know all about 97 Rock, and
Yeah.
it's still there. They froze the playlist in like 1981, and it's still on the air,
Yeah.
but and so when I first heard the Clash and the Ramones and the Damned and took real deep dives into like television and Lou Reed and the Buzzcocks and that, it was just like, wow, and The Cure, there's so much to write about besides cars and girls. There's so much interesting, more intelligent music, that you can be part of. It was
It's two
fun.
guys and a mic, and our special guest today is Johnny Rzeznik of the Goo Goo Dolls. our first musical guest. And you and I first met, John, mid 90s,
Yeah.
right after Name took off in Philadelphia. I was working in Philly at Y100, and you guys came and did a show for us. Did you know? I probably asked you this before, but for our viewers who don't have never heard you and I talking before, did you know when you wrote that this had a potential of being a radio song?
Um, I no, because I always put a ballad on the record, one ballad or an instrumental sometimes, and it was just, it just felt like because I thought in terms of an entire album as like, you start it, you got 6 songs or 5 songs on one side, you flip it over, that's a good song to start side 2, and then the ballad would end the album, like, kind of like Abbey Road when they
Yeah,
had that little tiny Her Majesty right at the end,
yeah.
something like that. I always felt like the slow song was a good way to, you know, bow out of the situation, or take a break in the middle of a side, of an album. And that was sort of the way you would structure the album, so it would have a flow, and it wasn't all linear, so it would ebb and flow. Yeah.
So you didn't, but you didn't really know that it was going to be a radio song.
That was my 5th album, and I was like, this is going to be my last album, and I'm going to finish up school and go be a normal human being if I can't make a living doing this, because
Wow.
I was tired of having roommates, and
Yeah.
I just wanted to get on with my life, and I was just like, look, I'm either meant to do this or I'm not meant to do this, and I sort of asked the universe, just give me a sign. Am I meant to do this?
I
And
think
then
you got your sign in your answer.
I got my sign, and I'm grateful for that, because I didn't, but I would have been happy being a school teacher and a bartender. That was pretty much the path that I was about to choose. I was gonna teach social studies and be a bartender. I
Yeah.
loved being a bartender. It was the greatest job I ever had in my life. Really, truly,
I've done it
I loved it.
myself. It is actually kind of a cool job.
Come on, Jim.
It
It's
is.
like you have an excuse to talk to every pretty girl in the bar. You get
Yep.
paid in cash, and
Yep.
and life is
And
good.
and I was doing that in the mid 80s out in the Hamptons. So
Oh God,
yeah, that was crazy.
that must
It
have
was,
been like, yeah,
it was
crazy.
it was nutty. Very
Yeah,
nutty.
yeah.
So we do this thing on the podcast every week. We do a top 5 list. We come up with a subject, and then Mark and I put in what we think our top 5 are. Last week we did favorite albums of all time, but we came up with a special one for you, John. Mark's going to tell you about it.
Well, we
Okay.
had a couple we were kicking around, but I think it's always interesting to see what other artists think of other artists. If you had to pay to see 5 artists, who would you go see?
If I had to pay,
Yeah, pay admission. Even, let's say you're still a school teacher. And
okay. Current or any time in history?
that's a little deeper, but I was thinking current because that's what we
Current.
do for a living these days. We work
Okay.
all these current people. So I was curious.
Um, I would. Well, no, that's not true. I did see them. Um, I would pay to go see the Who. Okay, even though they're a legacy act. I mean, they're still out there, and they're amazing still, I guess. I mean, I've watched videos on YouTube, and I'm like, damn, they're amazing still. Um, I would like to see. I really love that band Foals, and
Yeah.
21 Pilots. I love.
Right.
Uh, I think there's a lot of these young artists that are pretty amazing. I would love to see Noel Gallagher play live. I saw him with Oasis. We did a radio show with them, and I just remember standing on the side of the stage going, "Oh my God, this is the greatest band I've ever seen in my life." And it was just there was just something about them. Um, you know, I don't know how many that was, but
I think
yeah, I
you're up to 4.
recently, yeah, oh, okay, 4, and then well, the Chameleons UK are out touring,
Okay.
and
Cool.
I saw them. a million years ago when I was in college, and I want to see him again because that band had such a huge influence on my guitar playing, and the way that I was thinking about music as the music in the Goo Goo Dolls progressed. Those were all those bands. I always listened to this really sort of wide swath of music, like from Depeche Mode to GBH, and everything in between. And I always loved Elvis Costello, and I loved the Replacements. Um, you know, we always sort of get lumped in with the Replacements, but I really felt like Husker Du and Bob Mould had a much
Ooh,
bigger influence,
Very cool.
much bigger influence on me.
great
I think
band.
than the Replacements. Oh my God, that was the first mosh pit I was ever in my life. Was in high school when I went and saw Husker Du. I think I paid like $5 to go see him at the university, and man, it changed my life. That was a paradigm shift for me right there. You know.
Very
Nice.
cool.
It got me thinking as you were coming up with those, is there an artist that you never had a chance to see that you regret that never happened? Because for me, that's Tom Petty. I really wish
Oh,
I had seen Petty live and I never did.
yeah, I never saw Petty live. No, you're right. That would be that's probably my number one regret that I did not get to see him play because they are a huge influence on me as well. He
Yeah.
was a huge influence on me as well. And the fact that I was given the opportunity to sit in a room and talk to him for almost an hour one time,
Wow.
just me and him,
Wow.
we just talked about songwriting and all kinds of just whatever. And it was just like he was so cool and so generous. I never got to see the Clash. That's a
Mhm.
big regret,
Yeah.
you know. Not the original lineup of the Clash. I never got to see that. I saw the sort of boy band version that they put together afterward, but wasn't good.
Prince would be
Um,
another one for me too.
who's that?
Prince.
Prince.
Prince. Yeah, I never saw Prince. You know what? I never saw Kiss. I
Oh,
just
that I did. That's a show. That's a show.
I never saw Kiss. And I said, okay, because I've never seen Kiss, I have put it on my bucket list and I am going to actually I'm not really into the music, but I just want to see the spectacle. I want to go see Ramstein,
Ah.
however you pronounce it. I just want to see guys burning everything down. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I just want to see the spectacle, of that. So, um,
I'm gonna ask right now, since we're talking music, you say you're working on a new album which should be out in 2025. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah.
Any idea what you may be calling it, or you can't share that?
No, I got
Yeah.
I'm really bad at naming things. We're trying to come up with a name for the tour for next year. So I'm, trying to put all these together, all these cute little titles, and I'm just like, I don't know. We'll think of something, you
Well,
got to
go
have a
ahead,
hook.
Mark. Ask the question you wanted to ask.
Well, I have a lot of questions, but before we get into some of those questions, I saw on your tour schedule that you play South Africa. So when you
Yeah.
plan to play South Africa, is that a different type of show? Do you have to relate a bit differently to the audience, or how do you go
Well,
about doing it?
um, in a situation like that, like we went to India. I'm just going to relay this back to this. We were in South Africa once. We did a tour with Lenny Kravitz in South Africa,
Very cool.
and uh, that was a long time ago, and it was different. I guess it's a lot better now, and it was okay back then, but it was still a weird place. Weird place.
Yeah.
Not I didn't dig it. Um, Probably because I was still, thinking of when it was an apartheid country, and 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 that long ago, people were just sort of a little. I met a few people that were a little unsavory, but um, but it was really cool to be able to play with Lenny Kravitz and that, and then we went back and we played Nelson Mandela's. Um, I think it was his birthday party. It was in this stadium to raise funds for his. It was 46664 Foundation. And that was pretty interesting to get to meet him, because the man had an aura about him. But getting into those situations, because we have not been there in so long, I think you have to stick to the hit list.
Right.
It's like, these are all the songs that people know. And the interesting thing, even though streaming has sort of destroyed a lot of revenue for musicians and writers, and and it's really becoming hard to make a living if you can't make a living touring. It's impossible to make a living doing this now. The thing that streaming has done for me, it's given me access to metrics, that so I can be like, well, what are the most popular songs that have been streamed in South Africa? And then you look through it, and then you go, okay, so we'll put these songs in the set. Because I'm a firm believer in, you gotta give people what you want, what they want.
Yeah.
And then you do a little bit of what you want, but you make sure that people pay a lot of money to come and see you, and they don't need to see me acting like a self-absorbed asshole, and turning all my songs into jazz,
Yeah.
and then, I just, I like playing the hits, and I'll play around with rearranging songs a little bit, but it's never unrecognizable.
You say that, John, and it was a little over a year ago. I took my wife and we went to see Ed Sheeran, not at one of the stadium shows. He went in a lot of the cities. He was doing these small venues besides that, because he had just wrote that really deeply personal album about losing his best friend. And he said a lot of those songs didn't fit doing in a stadium environment.
Right.
So he would do these small shows, but he even announced when he came out, he goes, listen, I'm going to do these songs from this album because they're personal. I want to do them, but I promise you, when I get through them, because they're not happy, they're not upbeat and fun, we'll have some fun, and I'll do, basically what most people came there to see him do. So it was kind of cool to see an artist do that, because I think as a fan, when you go, there was a period where Madonna went out and she wouldn't play any of her hits. It's like, well, people come to see you because of these. I understand.
Yeah.
It probably, you have to play the same thing. But I mean, I've heard Bruce Springsteen say, you think I can't play Born to Run when I go out and play? I mean, they would murder me. They would murder me.
Right. But that's something too. But I mean, about Bruce, that guy, he's probably the greatest rock performer.
Yeah.
I mean, other than maybe like Little Richard or Prince, but it's just so unbelievable, and so like down to earth, grounded. It's like, yeah, you're paying good money, you come and see me. Oh my God, the fact that somebody actually pays money to come and see me, it's like, yeah, you give people what they want,
Yeah. Yeah. We're talking with John Rzeznik. It's two guys and a mic. Please subscribe. The more subscribers, it doesn't cost you a thing. Like it, hit the bell. It helps us content creators keep this thing going and growing. And really appreciate Johnny taking time today. Mark, you wanted to ask?
Well, there's a lot, but I mean, I did want to compliment some of his songwriting. I spoke to you before we got on about these lyrics. I mean, amazing lyrics. I mean, stuff like, scars are souvenirs you never lose. I mean, that's heavy stuff, man. And then, of course, something that Jim and I can relate to: a tired song keeps playing on a tired radio. I mean, that's like our life. That's what we do. And then, of course, the other one is put your arms around me. What you feel is what you are, and what you are is beautiful. I mean, that's
thank you.
I think that's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame stuff there, Johnny.
Don't mention that. Don't mention the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well, I think it's incredible. But I also want to say, if the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't call, and they should, I'm thinking of getting you into the Rock Star Hall of Hair Fame. You got great hair. I saw pictures and videos.
Not today so much, but that's
I gotta get hair like
nice
that.
hair.
So do you
at least you two still have hair?
I mean, do you walk into Supercuts and say, "Can I have a rock star haircut"? Who does this? I love it.
No, it's really funny. It's like, I always go get a haircut, right? Like I get a haircut like every 3 months, and I'm always like, yeah, make it kind of like, then I'll show them a picture, make it kind of like this. And then it never looks like that. And then I have a pair of these thinning shears.
Oh, yeah.
and then I stand there at home in front of the mirror and just hack it up until I think it looks cool. I've been trying to get the Keith Richards from like 73 kind of hair going. That doesn't work. It's just like, I don't know, man. I had the Rod Stewart kind of going for a while, and and then somebody made a rude comment and said my hair looks like Susie Orman.
No way. No way.
Yeah, so I kind of backed off that look for a while, but man, I mean, I don't know. Most of the time I just like to wear a hat, and I'm like, oh, thank God I still have hair. That's it.
Well, hair and teeth. You got to have hair and teeth.
Hair and teeth.
Mark, being from the label side of things, we all know a lot of the same people. You've been with Warner Brothers Records for how long now?
34 years.
Wow. God bless it. That's great.
34 years. I mean, we were there when Mo and Lenny were running it. Right. And then I don't know who came after them. Was it Danny Goldberg? Then I don't know the order. And then Tom Whalley, and then Stephen Baker ran it for a little while. Tom Beery, Rob Cavallo,
Peter Gray.
And Peter Gray. I mean, it's just like we've been there forever. I think the only band that's been there longer than us is like Chili Peppers, I think. But I like
to tell the story. You might remember this. You guys came into my office at Sirius XM with Rebel Beat.
Yeah.
And it was Pat was with you, Debbie Sciorcione, and you and Robbie. You guys came in and played it. And I'm like, I don't want you to leave. I want to play this. I want to put it on the radio right now.
Yeah, I do remember that.
We called Peter, and then Peter was okay, cool with it. And the three of us, you, me, and Robbie, went down to the studio and cut breaks and put it on the air immediately.
Yeah, and that was awesome. That was one of those moments where it's like, oh, the bullshit you got to put up with is so worth it. It was just like those magic moments that happen like that. You know what I mean? Like you heard the song and you believed in it, and that was something, and that was that fills your heart, because 99 times out of 100, it's like no. And then you get a yes, and then you see some enthusiasm from someone about what you're doing, and it's enough to fuel you on. It's like if you're to the young guys who ask me, I never give my opinion to them unless they ask me. I'm like, you better believe in yourself, you better believe in what you do, and you better be willing to make the sacrifices that you're going to have to make, and you better be very, very sensitive when you're writing, and very open to write something of value. And then when you decide to put it out in the world, you better get real tough, because people are going to slam the shit out of you for no reason.
I remember saying to Peter on the phone, Johnny's in the room, Mark, I said to Peter, your heart, not what it wasn't your hardest thing the easiest part of your day is me calling you and telling you I want to put it on the radio right now.
Yeah. Amazing, right?
Yeah. He was like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. No,
it wasn't even supposed to come out for like a week or more at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was like, I mean, when you were at Sirius and that, you were always very good to us, man. And thank you for that. I don't know if I ever did thank you for that, but
no, you thanked me plenty. And then you guys even asked me to do that live intro read of your live album.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did the live intro read. Yeah, for the album.
And then we did that show at City Winery in Chicago. We had a lot of good things.
Yeah. We had a good run together.
It's John Rzeznik from the Goo Goo Dolls, two guys and a mic. Please like and subscribe. Mark, what else you got for Johnny?
Well, you were talking about Debbie Sciorcione. I did want to give a shout out to all the other friends of ours who have worked with the Goos, everyone from Kenny Phillips on the publicity side when he was at Warner's. Our good friend Steve Zapp said he was part of your career and was very proud of what he did. We did mention Debbie Sciorcione, Michelle Babbitt, and of course our good friend John Boulos. But when we talk about promotion, it really takes a village. It takes a team. And, I get to work a lot of records on a lot of different record labels, and sometimes songs make it or don't make it by the strength of, the support that the record label gives, obviously the promotion people that are out there, and a lot of, sweat goes into these things. And as a promotion person, as I told you, some of the songs I had obviously the privilege to work on the side for you. I mean, it's exciting, and it's nice to know you have the support of a very strong record label behind you and their passion. As you said, for 34 years, you can't take that for granted, because there's a lot of artists. I see them on the way up and I see them on the way down. And as Jim was mentioning before about, you want to play hits. Actually, that's what you said. And I think we mentioned this on a previous podcast where I had an incident with John Mellencamp when I was at Columbia. And I had a big event at a radio station, WPLJ in New York, with Tom Cuddy and all our friends, Scott Shannon. And John was supposed to come in and do something. And he flat out tells me while he's chain smoking and chewing gum that he's not playing Pink Houses and he's not playing this. And I'm like shaking in my boots here, because I have the most powerful, radio station in my world. And John's going to be performing in front of radio fans and listeners. And I think he was just trying to fuck with me a little bit and get me crazy. But then, But then when he got on there, he played his hits and everybody was happy. But it's like, I get the part. You don't want to do Pink Houses 100 times a day. But I mean, I worked with Barry Manilow for many years, and he can't do a show without doing Copacabana or Andy and stuff like that. You got to give the people the hits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something it's always among artists. It's who are lucky enough to get signed. I mean, I don't know about now, but back in the day when, you'd get signed, it was like, wow, it was your dream. And then it comes true. And then because musicians are all friggin' nuts, we're all nuts. And it's like, we all want attention, and we're seeking approval, but you have to have that bad boy image sort of thing. I told the guy from the label, fuck you, man, stomped on his desk and walked right. It's like, it's a bunch of bullshit. It's like I always wanted to write hits. I always wanted people to like our music. I mean, but I wasn't talented enough to sort of manipulate what I did. I didn't have enough education or information, and I wasn't listening to the radio. I never wanted to chase something that was already big, because it's like, well, then you're just imitating that, and it's sort of like, that being said, there is nothing new under the sun. And, our influences were pretty obvious at the beginning, and then we grew past them. And that's the thing that makes me sad about the way the music business is run now, is that there are kids who are 19, 20 years old, whatever, and they have so much potential. And there are a lot of people that don't have the talent themselves, who are working in the music business, to see that potential. Like Lenny Waronker, he saw our potential and he said, look, we're going to break your band because we know. And it took them 3 records, but they kept going, with us, and that kind of development. And they put us in the room with different people and tried to motivate me and help me and educate me about a lot of things that were going on. And I got a great education from guys like Rob Cavallo and Glenn Ballard. And, these guys were incredible. And guys, like Tom Beery. And because I was always interested in the business side of it too. I was always interested in how the record companies worked and all that. So I would love to talk to marketing guys and, the distribution guys and things like that. And just how does this work? And just to get a better sort of grasp on the world that I was living in.
2 Guys and a Mic. Find us here on YouTube. We're here with John Rzeznik of the Goo Goo Dolls, our first musical guest, and we're getting a lot of cool insights and doing a lot of remembrances. Now, you mentioned about the guys on the business side of the record label and everything else. Is there, what I want to ask, the strangest request that the label ever asked you to do to get your record played? Somebody from promotion? Who were we talking? We were talking to Rick Stone last week. I don't know if you know Rick.
Right.
Yeah.
Aaron Neville.
Aaron Neville. Some guy at a radio station in Detroit wanted Aaron Neville to play his son's bar mitzvah to put the record on the air, and he actually went and did it.
Oh, I would have done that. Easy. I mean, Well, there was one radio station that knew I was from Buffalo and that I liked to cook. So they wanted to have a chicken wing party.
Oh.
And I had to cook all the chicken wings. So I'm like, okay, this is what I need. And I gave them this big shopping list, and they had to go out and rent deep fryers and I had to do all this prep work. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like working as a fry cook again to get my album, to get my song on the radio. But I was like, you know what? You do what you got to do, man. You know, this is in front of me. Well, you know, I mean, it's, you know, there've been things that I've been asked to do that I'm just like, no, there's no way I'm going to do that. And within reason, I mean, you have to retain your dignity, but I was like, you know,
so give us one of those that you just wouldn't
I'm going to win. There was a guy who ran a group of radio stations that wanted us. He wanted us to like play this party for his wife, and it would have been okay, but like the whole thing was just something felt bad about it, wrong. Like this is not good, and this is getting creepy. So we politely had to be on another continent when it came up. Yeah, I mean, we politely declined. I had to be, yeah, I think we were in, you know, we had to be in Europe. I'm so sorry. We can't do it. But it was just, we tried so hard to back out of it because it was just, it just seemed like there was a weird sort of hidden agenda going on there. But, you know, I mean, you know, I've done the street festivals and the whole thing. I mean, it's like, you know, when we used to be on a different label, and we got into a very long, expensive legal battle with them. And I didn't exactly want to do it because we had one hit. We had one hit name, and every penny we made was taken away from us. And I think I'm okay to say that. Okay, every penny was taken away from us. So what we had to do, because we had no money to hire a lawyer of the caliber of Peter Paterno, who, you know, who, if you're out there listening to this or watching it, you know, go Google that guy. He's an incredible human being. And so we went out, we played county fairs, state fairs. We called them the pig races, you know, because we went out, because they would literally pay you 3 times what your market value was, like doing shows on our own. So we went and played the Iowa State Fair, the Minnesota State Fair, the New York State Fair. You know, I mean, it's like we just went everywhere, and we raised $300,000 or $400,000, and we gave it to Peter Paterno, and we said, call us when you need more money. Just get us out of this. And he did, and I am very grateful to him. And he helped our band very, very much. And I love, you know, a lot of the people we know, we're seeing people retire, we're seeing people die, we're seeing, you know, that's what happens when you have a career for 35 years, you know. It's like you start to see. I was you know, I was talking with John Bon Jovi a few weeks ago. We were just sitting there talking, and he was telling stories about when his band first got started. And I'm just like, wow, like we never had that much fun. It's like we had a lot of fun, but never as much fun as those guys, you know.
Where were you when you first heard Name on the radio?
I was in a supermarket at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and because I like to shop at 3 a.m. and it was just me and the guys that stock the shelves.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it was on the radio. It came on the radio, and I was like, I stopped, and I was like, that speaker that's above your head, and I'm just listening, and I'm like, I don't know if this is good or bad. Like I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. You know, and I remember saying to one of the guys who was like stocking the shelves, and I was like, "This is me, man. This is my band." It was in Buffalo, you know.
Yeah.
And he was just like, he probably had just gotten released from prison or something. He's just like, he's not having my bullshit. He's just like, yeah, whatever, kid. You know. But
Are these 2 for
that
one?
yeah, right, exactly. But it was that was an interesting moment. That was a lot of good things happened and a lot of bad things happened. It's like it became very apparent that if you get a little bit taller, metaphorically speaking, if you get a little taller in the world, then you cast a longer shadow. And
Yeah.
what lives in that shadow and what goes on in that shadow, you have to be very, very careful about, because even though I was 27, I think, when that was going on, I still was not prepared. I was not prepared because we grew up in very indie punk rock, a lot of hardcore metal, and all this other alternative rock and college rock or whatever. And we, who was a rock star to me? I mean, I remember seeing going out and opening for Soul Asylum when they were
Right.
at their biggest. These guys were like huge rock stars to me. I think the biggest show we played was about 2,500 people, and it was eye opening, to me, as you go along.
What would be the biggest show now, 34 years later, the amount of people that you ever did?
Oh God, Poland. We played in Poland. I don't remember the name of the place we played. It was giant field. I think there was about 200,000 people there.
Wow.
And then and Rock in Rio, John was nice enough to let us open for them. We played right before Bon Jovi at Rock in Rio. Talk about a crazy once in a lifetime experience,
Yeah.
And then, it was incredible. It was an incredible thing to be part of.
Do you have a favorite venue here in the US?
Um, I love PNC, in
Oh,
Homedale, New
Jersey.
Jersey.
It's
Yep.
great.
That's become like we have like 3 hometown shows now. We have one in Buffalo, one at Jones Beach, and one at
Yep.
PNC, and then no 4, and then one at Northerly Island in Chicago. We always play that Navy Pier, and that is always, those are always the 4 best shows of the tour.
Jones Beach is great if you don't get caught up in the flood. You've heard
Right.
about
No,
that. Yeah.
yes, I've been there for it, and
Those
it's like,
tunnels that go backstage that are
Right.
leaking and like, oh man.
yeah, but you know what? I don't know what it is. There's just something about that place.
Yeah.
It's got a vibe.
It's cool. I saw you there with Train. I think you played with Train. We saw you
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Very cool. And
Yes,
I've
definitely.
seen you guys at Jones Beach, and I've also been to the Art Center, Homedale in Jersey, a bunch of times.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
that's like hop and a skip and jump from your house. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's about 20 minutes from where I live.
yeah.
So I'm like, and but there's just that when it's hot out and there's that energy, it's like, and if you drive in and then you see the people, you see the traffic coming off the Garden State, and you're like, wow, that's because of us.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a crazy feeling.
Yeah.
I'm the asshole causing the traffic jam on the parkway, and but things like that, I mean, I always find too, like, my proudest moments in this whole thing um was when we'll get done with a show like at a place like PNC, where it's a big show and it's like a rock concert, and then you go back out onto the loading dock and you see all the guys loading the equipment into the trucks, and you smell the diesel fuel, and there's a whole line of trucks and buses and things, and you go, wow, I'm really proud of it. Look at all these people working.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing good. It's like, it's a special thing.
Is there one of your
Yeah.
albums that's more of a favorite than the others? Dizzy Up the Girl, or any of them?
It changes. It changes, and I don't really listen to them after I make them. I listen to them only as a reference for, okay, this is what I have done. What's good about that? What's bad about it? Um, you know, where can I go from that point? Um, there's a record I think that didn't get very much attention, but actually was in retrospect, it was a very difficult record to make. I was a total blackout drunk at the time. We were working with a producer that I wasn't getting along with, and I still have never called him to apologize, which I should. A guy named Tim Palmer, who was he was a really good producer, and we made a record called Something for the Rest of Us, and that was the album like that Warner didn't want to put out. Um, they didn't want to put it out, and then eventually they did, but they didn't do anything for it. But it was it first that was an album that I needed to make, and it was really dark, not very up tempo, and it didn't have a lot of the shiny sort of elements that they were expecting out of me. Um, so, and I listened back to that album a couple of months ago, and I was just like, wow, there's some heavy shit on there, but it was good.
Two guys and a mic. Johnny Rzeznik is our guest. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you'll be reminded when we post new episodes. I can't remember, was Iris written for the movie or written and then taken up by the movie?
The Iris was written for the movie. A guy named Danny Bramson, who, they just don't build them like that anymore. They don't have, guys like Bulos, John Bulos, for everybody out there. This is kind of inside baseball. That guy has been attached to making more songs hits probably than, I don't know. I mean, as many as anybody.
Bulos is the man.
One of the greatest human beings I've ever met in my life. I've never met somebody with that kind of passion, that kind of drive, and just that kind of personality that just you instantly fall in love with that guy. Larger than life. And and these are the guys that work behind the scenes for everybody in the audience. They work behind the scenes. They're the guys leaning into the programmers and going, look, man, you have to understand the merit of this. Like really, and they advocate for you, because it's like, there's only so many spots on a playlist.
Yeah, it's true.
And you need to have a strong advocate, and that. I mean, you've worked a million records, It's like
what I was going to say about John Bulos is when I was in college, I was trying to break into this wonderful record business, and my dad was working with John Bulos's brother-in-law, who actually turned out to be his ex-brother-in-law. And in those days, John was at Virgin Records. So my dad gave him the resume. Of course, I never heard from John, right? So fast forward about 35 years later, I get to work with John at Capitol Records and said, hey, by the way, how's my resume doing? He says, I'll get you on there. But he's one of the best guys, and he's been going through some tough times at the moment. So so we're keeping best thoughts, because he's one of a kind. I mean, he stands up for people. He's got passion. He's got belief. And
he's got balls. He always had balls. Yes, he always had balls enough to say the things other people wouldn't say. And like, there were a couple times he was just like, he would be like,
That's John. Yeah.
Swing and a miss. It's like, all right, okay, all right, that's cool. But I always respected his taste and his opinion. That's you got to find people who are like that, people who have really good taste. I don't quite understand what Rick Rubin does as a producer, because the people I know who have worked with him say, he just kind of hangs out, says, yeah, that's good, or that's bad, whatever. But something that he does, he just has incredibly good taste, and he knows who should be in the room doing what. It's nothing happens in a vacuum. I mean, the song still starts for me at home with my phone. Used to be a Panasonic tape recorder with the little microphone. Me sitting on a sofa at 2 or 3 in the morning, playing an acoustic guitar and just mumbling, humming along. And then I would take those things to guys like Rob Cavallo, and he'd be like, oh yeah, that's good. I'm like, well, it's 30 seconds long and I'm mumbling. No. Work on that idea. that's going to be something. And that's how we wound up with a lot of our hits, because Rob was another guy who just had very good ears, very good taste. He knew those were the first real albums that we made were with him.
So Johnny, let me ask you one question, because I think when we have people on, and all the people that obviously I've met and Jim's met, I mean, you're living the rock star life. You're a rock star. What's the best? I mean, like, you grow up, you want to be a baseball player, you want to be a rock star.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, I couldn't play baseball, and I didn't have the talent to be a rock star. So being famous, which I've said in other podcasts, obviously I've been around artists as Jim's been. It's the number one thing I think America is obsessed with. They love famous people. I've been with artists here, I've been artists there. I'm not famous. Jim's not famous, but you're famous. What's the best thing? Well, obviously the money and the girls and all that stuff that we dream about. But what's like the good stuff? And sadly, what's the bad stuff? I mean,
well, I'm somewhat famous.
Well, that's true. You are.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I mean, you're in your world. That's
yes.
No,
I'm joking.
I mean, the good part is, I mean, the best part about it is that I've been able to make a living and support my family and help some people out, help my family out when they've needed it. That's a really good feeling, being able to give back to really great organizations, Joe Torre's Safe at Home Foundation. Nice. I mean, that's a great thing. I'm working with the New Jersey Professional Firefighters Union, and they're amazing people. I mean, these guys run into burning buildings when the rest of us are running out of them. Yeah. And I want to do everything I can to help them, because and that's the good part. When somebody walks up to me and says, that song, I was in a bad spot in my life, and I listened to that album every single day, and it really helped me. And I just wanted to say thanks. That is the greatest thing. That is the greatest part about this. Nice. The worst part is when a bunch of parasites who like make you sign 50 autographs the second you get to the airport, and then they sell them on eBay. It's like, right. I hate that. I hate that, because it's like, what? And I just want to tell people, like, don't buy shit off eBay that's got my signature on it. It's like, just find me. I'll sign whatever you want. I just hate the fact that like people are like, oh, Johnny, I'm a big fan. I took a record away from a guy the other day, and because these guys get really aggressive sometimes, and it's just lately, it's like every time I get off an airplane, there's like 3-4 of these guys. They want you to sign 50 things. And it's like, no, I'm not doing it. Because some person is going to wind up paying too much money for it. My autograph is free. My autograph is free. It's a thank you for being a fan. So I grabbed the record from the guy, go, name 3 songs off this album. And he couldn't. And I was just like, I ain't signing it.
Right.
Nice.
And I have seen you backstage with the fans, and the time you take with the fans who, and you can see when they leave, I've even brought some of my relatives back to meet you guys. And then I'd be standing off their side, and they come back, and it was, oh my God, they're so nice. They're so down to earth. He's such a great, but you made that connection with a fan. And, even though it wasn't a lot of your time, it was, to them, it was a big deal.
Right. Cause
and that's, and I mean, it feels good that something that I said means something to somebody.
Yeah.
Like, you can't forget the value of that.
No.
No.
Awesome.
But it's like, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let someone exploit me, utterly. I mean, listen, there's always a lot of exploitation going on, but in that way, in this disingenuous manner, it's just like, get a life, go get a job.
John Rzeznik of the Goo Goo Dolls, new album coming in 2025. Any idea? First part of the year, halfway through, where we're looking?
Before we start the tour, which is going to start in July.
Okay.
So I got to get my ass in gear and get to work. But I'm working with Greg Wattenberg again, who's been a long-time collaborator and he did the last Matchbox 20 record, and he did our last record with me, and he's one of my best friends in the music business.
Well,
we always have fun together.
Mark and I are in Florida, so please put Tampa on the stops so we can come
Absolutely
hang out.
That's I'm gonna write to David Levine right now, who is the big oddly enough, we don't have to, you can edit this out or whatever. I just got a text from Pat Magnarella.
Pat.
Oh, there you go.
Look at this. This is crazy. Had lunch with Bulos today on his boat today. He's almost there. He's looking good. And then he put this picture on there.
Great.
Awesome.
That's nice. I text with Bulos every day. I send him little things to perk him up and build him up, and he's one of the best. That's nice. Yeah. He's been getting a lot of people coming to see him.
Because he was always straight with people, and he always worked hard, and he wasn't full of shit. Right. It's like,
no,
he's revered and loved.
Johnny would tell you exactly where where you stood on everything.
Right. I was going to try to see him this weekend, but I think he's pretty busy. I'm going up to New York tomorrow to see the final Billy Joel show at Madison Square Garden, and
he's ending that.
He's ending the 10-year
150 shows.
So
amazing. I love him, man.
It's been pretty good. Yeah, I got to see him a couple of weeks back at Coors Field. We took some radio folks to see him out there, and coming from beautiful Long Island, where I used to live before you hit a certain age, you have to move to Florida. They kick you out. So he's a wonderful Long Island boy. So it's always good to see him. But there's a difference seeing Billy Joel at the Garden, seeing him in Denver. There's a little bit different vibe with the audience.
Yeah,
I can imagine. Show. It should be.
But there's even more of a difference. I was going to say, the first time I saw Billy Joel was Nassau Coliseum, which was like 5 minutes from where he grew up.
Right.
And I'd imagine when you and Robbie go back to Buffalo, it's really special when you play there.
Yeah, I mean, there always tends to be a little more angst, with me and Robbie, because it's like, there were people I grew up with who bullied me. Now they want to say they're my friends. And I still feel like I got something to prove to those people, and then all the people who supported us when no one else in the world gave a crap about us,
right?
And then I have a responsibility to those people. I have an obligation to crush it, for those people.
Yeah.
And and then we always try to make that show the most special show of the whole tour.
Well, John, hometown crowd. Yes. John, I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us and being our first musical guest here on Two Guys and a Mic. I know you'll be a subscriber on YouTube and
spread
the word. And
spread the word.
Best of, can't wait to hear the new stuff.
I hope I get to work it. Hope they hire me to work it.
They will.
Send it to me if you want any opinions.
I will.
Really.
I will. I do appreciate that, Jim.
You guys are very special to me, and I call you a friend, and I mean that very much.
And I feel the same way about you. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Johnny, you're the best. I meant what I said about the songs, the lyrics. I mean, Black Balloon is phenomenal. I wish I had 1 cent of that talent. I have no talent.
Oh, get out of here.
I hope I get to meet you, Johnny. I hope we get to see you.
Well, we will. You guys are both in Florida. You both living in the same city?
I'm in
Tampa.
No, I'm in Naples. I'm south of there, and he's in Sarasota.
Right. Okay. I'm in Tampa. All the shows we go see are in Tampa mostly.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll make sure Tampa's on the thing.
We'll find you somewhere.
Okay. All right, guys.
Two Guys and a Mic, John Rzeznik of the Goo Goo Dolls. Like and subscribe, and thank you for watching episode 7. This is episode 7 already, John. How about that?
Come on, let's go. Keep it going, guys.